As the 2027 elections draw near, political parties and candidates seeking to challenge President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's second-term ambition have emerged in their numbers. With a majority of candidates coming from the south, there are permutations that this would divide the region, further strengthening ADC candidate Atiku Abubakar's chances in the forthcoming elections. Among those contesting is former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, who emerged as the presidential candidate of the People's Redemption Party, PRP, for the 2027 general election. Joining us on this show to discuss why the PRP zoned its ticket to the south, and if this doesn't create a pathway for an easy win for a northern candidate, is Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, national leader, People's Redemption Party, PRP. He's also calling for the resignation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for failing to protect Nigerian citizens. Good morning, Dr. Baba Ahmed, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Okay, Dr. Baba Ahmed, I know there is politics, but let's start first with the more important thing about the safety of schools and of lives of Nigerian citizens. I just quoted you now in introducing the subject as saying you are asking that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should resign. Why will you make that kind of confrontational suggestion, knowing that in any case it's going to be disregarded as just your opinion? After all, you are not, you don't speak with the authority of the National Assembly, which may have powers to remove, the president. Why would you say that? Is it a partisan statement? Only yesterday, then the Senate president was saying, this insecurity problem, abduction of students and teachers should not be politicized and that there should be no partisanship. Your suggestion seems like it is partisan. Is it a position you can conveniently defend?
Well, once again, thank you. What else is there to say to President Tinubu and to Nigerians? I listened to your program. You dwelt extensively on the escalation of these kidnappings and violent crimes all over the country. What else is there to say? It's clear President Tinubu has no handle on the escalating violence. Everything that needed to have been said by the media, by civil society, by everybody else, except of course the National Assembly, and Tinubu himself and his tiny cycle of supporters, appear to believe that this is a problem that we can live with. And they suggested by their body language, they suggested in every way they can. They condemn it. Every time children from generals to toddlers are stolen, every inch of Nigeria is now vulnerable to insecurity. What else is there? In a civilized democracy, President Tinubu's record on insecurity would have cost him his seat a long time ago. So it's not too late to say President Tinubu should go. If we project what he is doing, how he's performing between now and the elections, we don't even need to wait. Nigerians will reject him. But do we need to wait until more and more school children and women and adults and the whole country is overrun by criminality? We took a very responsible, very measured position in the PRP by saying President Tinubu should resign. There's nothing wrong, partisan or confrontational in that statement. In a democratic setting, you elect a president to perform two basic tasks. One is to protect the citizens. The other one is to protect the means by which they earn a legitimate living. Now, President Tinubu has spectacularly failed to protect anybody. Again, like I said, every part of Nigeria is now vulnerable. Everybody in Nigeria, except maybe if you're in that tiny little cycle in the APC, is vulnerable. Children, toddlers in school are being stolen. So what else do you say to a president who has failed? Sir, you cannot run this country, so please step down. Now, it is not a partisan thing. It's not a confrontational thing. It is the responsible thing to do. We've said everything else. And we say this with all sense of responsibility. President Tinubu should resign. The National Assembly is not likely to get him to resign because he's got it all sewn up so Nigerians should say so. And the PRP has taken the lead by saying exactly what needs to be said. We are not safe under President Tinubu. We haven't been safe under him, and we are likely to be even more exposed to criminality between now and the elections.
Okay, just one small clarification before we get to the main substance about your choice of a southern candidate as a presidential standard bearer of the PRP. Is it true, as some people are saying, that Mr. Donald Duke was affirmed as presidential candidate in absentia? Because some people are saying that at the time that decision was taken, President Mr. Donald Duke was not even in Nigeria, that he was in faraway America. Could you just clarify that? That the party just decided whether he's in India or China, you know, is a man that the party had decided upon. Just a small clarification.
Former Governor Donald Duke applied to join the party like everybody else. He complied with all the processes, including the screening of candidates. As at the time, the consensus, the attempt to create a consensus was meeting, we called a meeting of the three persons, all of them from the southern part of the country, to sit to see if we can get a consensus. And this is a mandatory requirement. He was out of the country, but he joined the meeting involving the three parties online. They consented, and he spoke throughout with them on phone. They interacted with each other. That is good enough for the party, and it's good enough for the other contestants. And so being absent physically is not in a breach of either rules or regulations or etiquettes. But he did everything that every candidate of the PRP should do. And the results, the return of the results showed that he got more votes than the other contestants. The PRP is one of the very few parties that is meticulous in respecting rules and regulations. We're a principled party. We know the power and the strength of making sure that we abide by our laws and regulations. Nobody will just walk into the PRP and just simply pick a ticket. We've seen it happening now in other parties. That will not happen in PRP. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. So as far as we're concerned, Donald Duke has met all the requirements to be a candidate, to be an aspirant. He went through the process, and he was returned as having won the largest number of votes. There's still the step that those who are aggrieved can actually take the issue up with the petitions committee, and they've done so. But as far as we speak now, Governor Donald Duke complied with every requirement, and he emerged a candidate.
All right.
All the three candidates, by the way, all our three candidates came from the southern part of the country.
Okay. I can understand.
Not by design, but
yes.
by...
Sorry, not by design, but by what?
That is how it was. Okay. The three candidates who all qualified to stand as aspirants all came from the southern part of the country.
And that's the thrust of my question this morning. You have said in a previous interview that you do all you can to work to ensure that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not return in 2027. However, your party has now, well, as you've mentioned, Mr. Donald Duke is going to be running as your party's presidential flag bearer. If you look at the other opposition parties, you would see that all, if not all of them, have the candidates that have emerged are from the south, except, of course, from the ADC that has Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as its presidential flag bearer. Some analysts would opine that these emergence of southern candidates would divide the votes in the south, maybe, as you have said, work against the president coming back, but would work for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar coming in as the only northern voter, since most of that vote might potentially go to him, as well as some pockets in the south. What do you have to say about this? Do you think it's doing more good to the Atiku Abubakar campaign by these southern, emergence of southern candidates in the NDC, in the PRP, in factions of the PDP, as we've seen?
Well, look, PRP, like other parties, threw up its parties for candidates to apply. In the case of PRP, we were absolutely transparent. If we had candidates or aspirants who came from the northern part of the country and they go through the process of being selected or elected or voted for, and they win, we would have fielded a northern candidate. No northern candidate applied or asked for the party to field him. In 2023, I would like to remind you, we also fielded a southern candidate. His name is Kola Abiola. In 2023 elections, we fielded a southern candidate. Now, this time we fielded all three aspirants, all of them excellent Nigerians, all of them from the southern part of the country, one from the southeast, two from the south. And it just happens to be that one of them happens to have garnered more votes than the others. And that's why we're saying Donald Duke is likely to be, if he's cleared by the appeals committee, to be our candidate. This business of fielding candidates so that Tinubu is defeated or not, one, I believe that it doesn't matter where the candidate is. If the candidate is good enough, he will defeat President Tinubu. And two, we know that the huge number of supporters of PRP are from the north. This business of, insisting that the president must come from the southern part of the country has damaged this, or one part of the country, has damaged this country beyond anything you can imagine. And we end up, this is that kind of thing that has allowed us to end up with somebody like President Tinubu today. Look, we lived for 8 years under a very inept, incompetent, and indifferent administration of President Buhari. He was from the north. Many northerners kept saying, no, it's our turn, you can't move him. In 2023, in 2019, many northerners protested against the election of President Buhari. They weren't listened to. So this is where we are. All this business, no matter how good a party is, people look at their candidates and say, they are trying to make sure that this person doesn't win. PRP fielded, we will field a candidate that we believe is good enough, no matter where he comes from. No matter where he comes from. So we are not, if anybody thinks we're part of a gang up to reduce the votes of President Tinubu because we have other parties are filled in the southern part of the country, they should count PRP out. PRP believes in the unity of this country. It believes that rotation is damaging and dangerous to our country. It doesn't improve unity. All it does is that it polarizes us. It reminds us that we are parts, not one country. It creates mediocre leadership. It creates, it isolates parts of the country from participating in the leadership selection. This is our turn, It's horrible. It has damaged this country beyond what people think.
You've been very consistent, in pushing that message. But let's look at the aspect of running mates, because the conversation is also moving in that direction, with, of course, people rightfully stating the importance to permutations of a running mate. Now, as we speak, Peter Obi is the only candidate who has been, dare I say, bold enough to immediately declare who his running mate is. Many would say Kwankwaso is a very worthy contender who can rake in votes from a different part of the country that may not be Peter Obi's stronghold. Who are you looking at as a running mate? Of course, we also know that the incumbent, President Tinubu, has also not confirmed whether the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, will be carrying on the same ticket as him. We're still waiting for that confirmation. What's the PRP looking at, especially since you're saying that zoning isn't important? Because most people will say if you have a Christian southerner, then you need a Muslim northerner.
Again, this categorization is it doesn't help us at all. It just simply reinforces the divisions of the country. A Muslim candidate, if they're not the type that President Tinubu is working with, if they're competent, not their faith does not have any bearing in terms of how they govern. And if you are looking for an example of that, look at President Tinubu. PRP will encourage the emergence of a competent vice president who will work with a competent president. At this stage, we are not particular about where they come from or what their faith is. if it helps a complex and federal multicultural country that the candidate must come from the northern part of the country, it will be a decision that will be taken jointly by the candidate himself and the party. The party does have a say in terms of who emerges as the vice presidential candidate. But we'll make sure they are competent. We'll make sure that their religion and their tribe are not the only qualifications they have. And we'll make sure that the vice president does play an active role in the governance, and not the way things are going right now. The PRP wants to set a standard, and we have started. We've started very well. We hope Nigerians will give us enough trust to change the trajectory of this country. But again, I emphasize this point. Okay. This fixation with religion and where you come from is damaging to this country. I wish to God we'll move away from this.
Okay, Dr. Baba Ahmed, as a practicing politician, but originally an academic, a political scientist, and all of that. Now, do you think that
like
with,
you, Dr. Abati,
with more of the opposition candidates coming from the south, maybe from the north, we just have Waziri Atiku Abubakar, we have Gbenga Olawepo Ashim, but most of the others are from the south. Do you think that would damage the fortunes of President Tinubu, and that because of the south so crowded, that would then give an advantage maybe to the north in determining who becomes president in 2027?
Let's look at the other side. You think the argument that is being put is that all these 95% of the candidates are coming from the south. You split the votes in the southern part of the country. You're assuming that the north is all going to rally around behind the one candidate who is coming from the northern part of the country. I'm afraid you're wrong. Northerners, at least I can speak for most of the north, has moved away from this idea that just coming from the north is enough to get our votes. And I'm sure in the southern part of the country, there are a huge number of Nigerians who have learned enough lessons from simply voting for a candidate because he comes from that particular region. If coming from the southern part of the country is an advantage under the circumstances, why does it have to be a Yoruba man who has been president for 4 years and failed so spectacularly? Why don't we go and pick an Edo man, somebody from Bayelsa, for instance, or somebody from the southeast? I don't think, to be honest, Nigerians are going to vote purely on regional terms. I think that this time Nigerians are going to look at how we are being killed every day on the streets, how poverty has eaten deeply into our existence, how much we are being groomed by politics to hate each other, to use religion and ethnicity and region as factors for determining who leads us. And they might, quite possibly, they might vote for good candidates like the ones we're fielding. And then we can make a change. So to answer your question, I think we're overrating this idea that coming from one country qualifies you or disadvantages you in terms of your chances of winning an election.
All right. Well said. Thank you so much, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, for your time with us this morning.
Is it not amazing that all through this conversation that he had with this Northern Elders Forum man, they were just talking about taking votes away from President Tinubu, as if they don't understand that it's also to take away votes from someone like Peter Obi. They see that a lot of people are shouting Peter Obi, Peter Obi, Peter Obi. Now, it's funny that the media also does this thing and also sometimes play these games. So is it that they feel that if they mention Peter Obi's name too much, they are going to make him more famous, or they are going to make him more prominent in the minds of Nigerians? But whether they mention his name or not, people already know what is good and they know what is bad. So they are talking about taking away votes from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, it can also be their plot. It can also be their plot, but they also are plotting against someone like Peter Obi because Peter Obi is also a southern candidate. He's also a southern candidate. He's also a candidate that is coming from the south, and he has also been very smart to create an alliance with the north outside this Northern Elder Forum and all these Arewa groups, political groups. Was able to do it with Kwankwanso, with his Kwankwansia movement, because that is the grassroots movement in the north. So it's not just about President Tinubu, which I also think that yes, it can be their plot also, but most especially, it's even more of a plot or a scheme against someone like Peter Obi. And people like Donald Duke, I don't even know what kind of scheme is that. I wish they can just do a poll right now and see how many people they will vote for Donald Duke. You know what they're counting on? They're counting on tribal votes. They're counting on maybe the people of Cross River all going to vote for Donald Duke because he's from their tribe, and people from Akwa Ibom going to vote for Donald Duke. Because if you're talking about, but even the people from those places cannot, I don't see it happening because they are also not fools. They also see what's going on. So I don't know which vote they are thinking that it is going to take away from Peter Obi or from Tinubu. It's very funny, but I'm also surprised that their rise panelists, they didn't even mention the votes taken, the plot to also try and derail or disenfranchise voters from voting for someone like Peter Obi. They were just saying Tinubu, which yes is part of it, but they would have also mentioned Peter Obi. But all those schemes, if it's a scheme, I think all those schemes are going to fail, hopefully. So people like, I don't think the South will go and vote for someone like Peter Obi or maybe they should even be talking about someone like Showore, which also has never gotten that level of votes or that number of votes that will be a threat to someone like Peter Obi or Tinubu. But they can't mention someone like him because some people might say, oh, they want to follow someone that is all over the place protesting and always appearing on the media talking. But still, that is not even enough. That's not going to stop the movement of obedience or some of the people that want to follow Tinubu. So it's quite interesting. Have you realized that when it's another region that is in power, they start coming up with this their thing of that let's not say choose leaders based on where they come from, and this thing of it is the turn of the south, is the turn of the north, is not supposed to be like that. And they only say these things when it's another region that is in power. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody from the north are like this or that they are just bigots and they only want something for themselves. But the truth of the matter is that they have some of the worst politicians Nigeria has ever seen. They have some of the most evil politicians Nigeria has ever seen. And some of them, now, corrupt politicians are in every part of the country. They are in the north, they are in the east, they are in the west, they are in the south, they are everywhere. But we can say that some of the bosses of those corrupt politicians are from the north. They are politicians from the north. So when it's their turn, they don't care, they don't mind not it is the time of the north. But when it's another person that is there from another region, you start hearing them talking about we shouldn't care where somebody's coming from. Now, this is not to start praising Tinubu or to defend him and his government. No, but we must say things as it is. We can't even defend Tinubu in the first place because he got into some kind of agreement or understanding with these people in the first place. He was part and parcel of Buhari's government. of how they came to be. And after Buhari, it got to him. So we are not, the thing I would say is that Nigerians should not engage in that fight of they are doing Tinubu or Tinubu is doing these people. No, because they know exactly what they are doing. They are playing politics, and the only thing they are seeking for is power. When will Nigerians start thinking about what is good for themselves as the people, instead of following these people that are only seeking for power for themselves? So it's not a matter of everything we are doing. Yes, we are seeing that there's complete incompetency in leadership. Look at the kind of people that they have in leadership. Look at the people that instead of doing their duties, their own is to be there pushing bigotry. There are some people in the government that are pushing even tribal bigotry and hatred against, especially against towards the Igbo people, just to play politics and deceive the Nigerian people that it's all about we, our turn, our tribe. So that's what that Nigerians should focus on. The government as it is right now is obviously not doing well in terms of stopping insecurity in the country. Everybody can see it. They are not doing well. It doesn't mean they are not doing anything, but they are not doing enough because the insecurity is getting worse. It's getting worse. So, but at the same time, we must recognize that this we are not doing it for some people in the north shouting that they want Tinubu to resign. We are not doing it for those people, because they and Tinubu, they were all in the same ship. So what changed immediately? What changed? Was it not the same thing that was going on during Buhari's time? What changed immediately? So we are not doing it for them at all, because we know the kind of people they are. We are calling for good governance. We are calling for a change of leadership that can benefit Nigerians, or good governance. We are calling for that because of the Nigerian people, because of people that are going through hard times, hardship in the country, not for these people that are there shouting they want Tinubu to resign. Buhari, did he resign? So if there is anything that Nigerians will do to show their disapproval or to show that they want a change, it will be done by voting. Voting for the candidate, voting for the right person to be there, not because of region or because of tribe or because of religion, but voting the right person to be there. So it's quite unfortunate, and I like the way they arise panelists, although it seems they have some kind of. Sometimes I feel like the respect is too much that they usually have for some of these people. If I wish Rufai was there. If Rufai was there, you would see the directness of how he was going to ask this so-called, I don't know what's this, I don't know, is the Northern Elders Forum man. He's going to ask him some very direct and serious questions. The other journalists, they tried, but it was too much diplomacy there, too much political correctness was going on there. It's not funny. Sometimes you have to let these people see their own hypocrisy. Sometimes you have to let them see their own games, that you can see what they are doing, so that they will answer the hard questions. And that is what these people have been doing, but Nigerians have to rise above it this time. Nigerians have to rise above it this time. Thank you guys for staying to the end of this video. Please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I will see you next time.